Today, we're stepping into the world of visual effects, not with smoke and mirrors, but with craft, creativity, and precision. To help us with this, we brought in a master of invisible magic whose fingerprints are all over the modern Bond era and more. Steve Begg. From collapsing palazzos in Casino Royale to sky-high helicopter showdowns in Spectre, Begg has helped redefine what it means to make the impossible feel real. So fasten your seatbelts because we're about to dive into the artistry behind the action in some of our favorite spy movies. Hi, this is Dan.
And Tom.
Of Cracking the Code of Spy Movies. This is Cracking the Code, and the illusion starts now. So welcome, Steve.
Welcome, guys. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
We're very happy to have you here. And what I want to dive into initially is just about visual effects in general. And what I've read is that you believe that visual effects, the best ones, are the ones you don't even notice, right? As a viewer, they're just there. They're enhancing whatever you're seeing, and that's it. So in kind of layman's terms, what are the kinds of things you do to enhance a scene without making it look like the surf scene in Die Another Day?
What I tried to do when I got involved with the Bonds is I had, I think, a pretty good rapport with the special effects people and the stunt guys. And what I wanted more than anything was a real base to start with, and then we would augment it. You know, a worst case scenario, fix it, repair it, whatever. But at the base, you knew it was real. And I feel you can tell, you know, when something's been added in there. In fact, I think it's got worse now. A lot of the current visual effects I've seen, particularly in Marvel films, are just cartoony now.
Yep.
But on the Bond, in fact, I did work on GoldenEye, funnily enough, in digital effects, but on Casino Royale, they wanted to keep the involvement in miniatures and not so much miniatures, actually. You know, they want to keep the involvement of CG digital effects. They want to keep them very low profile. So everything was like for real, all the stunts were for real and all that, which they were. But what you do, where we got involved was painting things out, you know, rigs, wires, what have you. But the core thing was real. And, you know, and that's why they like the fact that I'm also a big fan of miniatures. So the miniatures with augmented CG, particularly on Casino, they were very happy with that look.
Well, yeah, you had a lot of miniature work in that movie.
Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, Steve, really, as we'll see today, you and your visual effects masters out there, you're really the magicians behind all the magic tricks that we see on the screen and that all of us fans love seeing and just buy into. I remember Harry Saltzman and Cubby Broccoli saying, put it all on the screen. And Ian Productions always did a great job of doing that because that makes the magic happen for all of us. And that's why we're so excited to talk to you about it, because you make the movies fantastic.
And I think what I just heard you say, too, is that put it all on the screen, but don't overdo it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can always tell. I mean, it's still happening today. I mean, CGI has gone through an exponential curve where it is invisible in a lot of cases. But there are some sequences, particularly in action movie, fantasy, where things move at the wrong speed, or you know, like a CG car thrown at the camera, you know, stunt. You can just tell by the way it's animated that it's fake, and I just feel that a lot of the laws of physics are being ignored more and more. And I can tell you who to blame, by the way. It's not the CG people; it's the directors want that usually.
Yeah.
A bit faster, want a bit faster, you know, and so there's a lot of that going on. But on the Bonds, I knew that the primary thing is it had to look real. Nothing else, nothing less.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, they always did such a great job of that.
And you did a really good job achieving that too.
Yeah. So let's look at a few examples of this magic using some pictures and videos that you provided for us. So If you're listening to this podcast, you might want to go to our YouTube channel and watch the video as well, because you're going to see some great stuff. The first one we want to look at is what I think of as basically kind of a classic green screen kind of thing. Anyone who has seen, anyone who's used Zoom or Teams or whatever else, you probably have used the green screen and you kind of know a little bit about that. And again, go watch the video if you want to take a look at what we're talking about. In Casino Royale, there's relatively what seems to us a simple scene where James Bond and Vesper are sitting on the train. And there's a window behind them, and we can see outside the window, and it looks like maybe it's a green screen kind of effect. And you gave us some photos of this. And what looks fantastic, though, is the reflections. Because tell us how the scene was shot, and then tell us about how you created this difference in the reflections between what's going on in the window and what's going on behind the window.
Well, we were lucky actually having a piece of glass in the background there with a very clean green background. So what I think you saw is a perfect green out the window, but you can also see Bond and Vesper's reflections. So when we were doing the compositing, we made sure that we retained those details, which made it look much more realistic. Also, yes. It was a very showy shot, if you know what I mean. But I can tell you that the background was a load of, albeit digital, were just a load of cutouts sliding along at different speeds to give a multi-plane kind of parallax feel. It's very simple CG out the window.
So the scenery behind that window is changing that way, but it looked to me like, from what you can see from the reflection in the green screen, you did something to bring that out more.
Oh, boosted that. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, definitely. I mean, because if it was missing, I mean, you go, uh-oh, something's wrong. And it's the sort of effect. Years ago, when they were doing optical effects, they wouldn't manage to retain those details a lot of the time. So there is a good side to digital effects,
I mean, that kind of detail is what makes it real, what makes it look like a natural scene.
So that one is a fairly simple scene. I think, like Dan said, anybody with Zoom or Teams probably is familiar with that technique. But then I want to talk about something that had a Walt Disney feel to me a little bit. Walt Disney used to say, it all started with a mouse. And in Spectre, there's a special relationship with the mouse. Well, kind of a mouse. It's not really a mouse, but darn it, I saw a mouse. I mean, the mouse isn't really there, but you created that thing. So can you talk about how you add something like that to a scene and how you develop the mouse in such a way that you're able to make it look so real?
Basically we shot the ground element, I think, with some paving stones or whatever on it. It's meant to be from Bond's point of view. And then once we got that, we put in a little stuffed mouse that would give us a lighting reference for the CG people when they render and they light their version of the mouse. What I was really proud of, there was that, and the Komodo dragons were the first CG creatures ever in a Bond movie. So, and I think they look pretty good.
Totally agree with you. So when you talk about putting that stuffed mouse in, is it as the mouse scurries across the ground, then do you move the stuffed mouse for getting the lighting, or do you just need the center?
We need the center. I mean, luckily when the thing starts moving across, the detail disappears. So, as it would, if a mouse was actually shooting across the floor, it'd be blurred, out as that was.
Now, let's look at another effect, and our third one here, and then we'll talk about all the details of the movies and so on. So another form of this visual effects kind of thing we're talking about here is how scenes are augmented and kind of filling in the blanks, if you will. If we look at the hangar scene in Casino Royale and the 747 outside, and I think we can see what we're talking about here. You used miniatures and a real 747, right?
There was a decommissioned 747 with its end. It had flown into this aerodrome outside of London, They then took the engines off it because apparently they're still valuable, which was lucky for us. And Peter Lamont, the production designer, discovered this, and we put these double intake engines on it, which were fake, made out of polystyrene or something like that. So there was a real element to the I can't remember, what was it called? There's something airliner, Skyliner. Yeah. But even that had a CG top up on it whenever the real one was used in the background, what have you. But the launch shot, the unveiling shot with the big doors open, what have you, is a huge, and I think it's 17-foot long miniature. Wow. And I've got to say, one of the most gorgeous miniatures I've ever seen.
Yeah. So that shot is actually of a miniature, not of a real plane coming out.
In the hangar you're talking about, right?
That is cool.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so it's a big miniature. 17-footer is a pretty big miniature, but it's a miniature, and you added people into this scene. Now, how do you handle the scale differential between the people and now the model that you got?
We shot it, the model initially using motion control, the computer control camera. So the big tilt up and crane up was shot first on the miniature. Okay. Then what we did using a bigger motion control rig, which I think was the actual move was 6 times. It was a 6-scale model. Okay. Wow. So we scaled the model move up 6 times. And from memory, it was something like 27 feet or something like that. Wow. And we shot a load of extras in various passes, milling around and what have you. To be honest, it's like, to me, they're not quite right yet, I have to say. But that's because I've done a lot more CG and compositing work since. But I have to be honest, I'm surprised at the amount of people that are kind of stunned by it and how realistic it looks. And
it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
To somebody not in your job, it's like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Good. I mean, really, it looks like a real life-size plane. Good. That's fantastic.
I like hearing that.
Yeah,
that's good.
You're the magic.
Let's shift to your background a little bit here, okay? I wanted to start this with kind of talking about here's what you do in a very high-level thing to put things into perspective. But I kind of want to move now to you and your background a little bit. So sure. The first thing, I guess, is what gave you the idea to get into doing visual effects? How'd you start into this industry?
A really good question, really. The background I'm from and I lived in was anything but glamorous. It was very, I'm Scottish. I don't know if you've noticed that.
I gathered.
Yeah. And I was a very working class environment, and the highest you could go in that particular environment was to be a footballer, a soccer player, or someone in sports, what have you. And, but what I was a natural born dreamer. And luckily on British TV at the time, we had a lot of Gerry Anderson stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yes. The Terrahawk stuff?
Terrahawks, yeah.
Terrahawks, yeah.
Okay. Early 80s, right?
Yeah. And that had a massive impact on me, particularly the work of Derek Meddings, who went on to do the Bonds, and I followed him. His work just did something to me. I just thought, I've got to get into this. So I got myself like a standard 8 camera, then a Super 8 movie camera, and then a 16mm camera, and I made my own kind of amateur films. And I was lucky to, through a friend, to meet Gerry Anderson and show him to him.
Nice.
And he was really impressed. And he just said, stay in touch. And I did, to the point of annoying him. And then, as you say, this puppet effects show came up called Terrahawks, and that was my break.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was kind of a mentor to you?
Oh, yeah. You might know, I ended up working with Derek as well, right, in a few projects, which was just like, wow, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
coming from this very basic working class background where there's nothing romantic or cinematic or whatever. I ended up working with, first of all, Jerry Anderson.
Right.
Luckily, Derek had seen Terrorhawks and liked the effects. So I met up with him. He found that we got on. That's mainly because I was like, yes, I'm not worthy, but I was a massive fan. And I ended up working with him as well. And one thing led to another. And, I started to get feature film work on my own. A lot of ultra low budget stuff, invariably with miniatures. I also did a lot of matte paintings and animation effects as well. So I went to VFX special effects school for the first sort of decade of my life, and
wow.
I learned a lot. I learned how to blow things up as well in miniature quite nicely.
That's cool.
Yeah. Now you've received outstanding contribution to the Craft Award from BAFTA Scotland, and you were part of the team that was nominated for the 2007 BAFTA Film Award for Best Achievement in Special Visual Effects for your work on Casino Royale. We mentioned a couple of things you did. So congratulations on both those, by the way, which is fantastic. So we like that this kind of recognition is being brought to your talent. So how important do you think it is for special effects folks and visual effects folks to be recognized like this?
I mean, obviously, it's a terrific compliment, that someone's seen something. But I have to say that sometimes I think in the Bond movies, particularly the two that followed, the stuff was kind of like, what am I looking at? And they couldn't quite tell. So they thought aren't a lot of effects in that, other than pyro and stunts and stuff like that.
So you were keeping it invisible, which is what you're going for.
Yeah. To my own detriment. Yeah.
I mean, stuff that you did in your early days, you talked a little bit about how you got your cameras and so on. And when you did some of your early work, has that influenced anything you've done? Like maybe you go back to your 1989 Batman. Does that everything builds in life, and we're kind of a bundle of our experiences. That's what we are. So how does that kind of work you did back then affect the work you did on Bond movies or Kingsman, the Secret Service, and things like that?
Well, I think I didn't go to film school, but I learned in a film school environment, if you know what I mean, with working as an assistant and then getting breaks and stuff like that. So I learned by a lot of mistakes, a hell of a lot actually. And when I'd done the Jerry Anderson stuff and the low budget effects stuff, so when I graduated onto the Bonds, and before that there was Batman Begins, where I did I was in charge of the miniature shoot on that. I already knew a lot of what works, what doesn't, what camera speeds. So, because one of the biggest giveaways I've always felt in a lot of the, not the Derek Meddings, well, even Derek Meddings stuff slightly, is they have a habit of, when it's a model, they over slow things down. And you see the water and things like that, not scaling properly. So when we were doing Casino Royale, the collapsing villa was my main project, in that I wanted the splashes to look realistic. So we're lucky, because it's a Bond film, that we could build that particular model on a massive scale. So that was the first thing which helped with the action and the splashes and what have you.
So you have the model in water then?
Yeah, it's huge. I think it was about 70 feet, maybe a bit more, 21 feet.
Wow.
On hydraulics, done by the special effects guys. And that's what I mean. It was a lovely collaborative thing, particularly in that movie more than any of the others that I did. And then even then, so what I did was I made sure we didn't slow-mo things down too much. So the splashes are just in the air long enough to look believable in scale-wise. Plus, the special effects guys helped me by throwing things like car engines and things into the tank at Pinewood. So I get real kind of, 12-foot, 15-foot splashes against the blue screen, which was the background.
Yeah.
The big. and put them on top of the model as well. So that's why it works so well.
Wow.
Yeah, we were going to talk about that because I think that would be one of the most difficult things to do is integrating the water and splashes with miniatures because the splashes are real and they're big and the miniatures are miniature. And how do you scale them out? This is amazing and fascinating how you did that. I love
It wasn't a small miniature.
Yeah.
No, that was how big?
Third scale.
That was like a third scale. Yeah. So like 15, 20 feet maybe or more.
It was about 17 to 20 foot tall.
Oh,
Wow.
that's a big miniature.
It is. I had an experience previous to that, which I think helped me get on the Bond, of working on Batman Begins. And our third scale radio controlled Batmobile tumbler, whatever it's called, was about 5 foot across.
Oh.
And this sucker, if it hit you on your leg, would break your leg.
Oh, yeah.
You know? But I found that if I don't over slow it down, it looked dead realistic to the point where Chris Nolan would. I thought he was shooting elsewhere, and he said, "I want to talk to him." Didn't really know me that well, so I went out to see him, expecting some sort of moan at me, and it was quite the opposite. He just said, "I'm really liking what I'm seeing. What lenses are you doing? Because we want to do some stuff on the big car as quick inserts." And so he was very happy with that. And I had a whale of time on that, which led to the Bonds.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how all these things build and come together in the future, and you keep enhancing it and so on. That stuff is cool. And now that scale model for Casino Royale, since we're talking about the collapse of the Palazzo, which is one of the most fantastic scenes in any Bond movies. I mean, we know that Michael G. Wilson got yelled at by a woman once for destroying a historical property just for a movie, and he's like, it was that good, huh?
Yeah, he did. That was great.
Yeah. But you did this at Pinewood, right?
Pinewood, on what they call the paddock tanks, this huge tank they had outdoors, which unfortunately is gone now, but it was there and built for a film called Sink the Bismarck in 1964.
I remember that movie. A great movie.
It was terrific. It was great. It was
but now you got a 20-something foot model or 17, 21 feet. The tank can't be 17, 20 feet deep, right?
It's got a deep bit in it. The natural depth is 3'6". Which is about a meter, and but it has a 12-foot deep bit in it, and that's where the special effects guys put the hydraulics. And then we put the model on top of that to allow it to sink into the water. And as you know, the Venice canals are not that deep, so that was a bit of fantasy, that fact. So, but a lot of people bought it though. They really.
Yeah. I mean, that was very. It looked good to me.
I had a look at the stuff recently. I haven't seen it for years, to put a reel together for a project, and it was just luck. Everything was good luck, and obviously talent.
A lot of talent.
When we shot the background, there's a couple of shots where you see the model and live action around it. Right?
Yes,
and we were lucky that the weather in England, which is, as you probably know, is notoriously bad or unpredictable, stayed just right for that shoot, so we could marry the whole thing together. And what I still think, looking at, is pretty seamless.
Yes.
It does. I mean, the sunlight and the lighting and everything else in that scene is fabulous.
Yeah,
there's no hiccup in that scene. It's just beautiful.
I had this sort of gentle pressure from, not in a bad way. People say, "Is this going to be CG? It's going to be that, and what have you?" Now, CG had come a long way by that point. But the breakup and the interaction with water in particular, there was nowhere near. So I elected to go for a model, and I had this really pleasant thing of, well, how big is it going to be? Well, I don't know, like 8 feet. And he went, "Are you sure?" And I went, "No, can I make it bigger?" Because the water will look better. And it was everything about that film was just, it's a highlight for me.
Yeah, it's a highlight for all of us, and that the Casino Royale is one of the best Bond movies ever made, But that scene
I think the best of the last.
yeah, it's fantastic. And that scene is just tremendous. And so now I love the crumbling and the tiles off the roof crumbling down and the plaster and everything else.
Yeah.
That can't be, you couldn't have done that in a take or whatever, right? You had to, did you have to recreate all of the plaster and the tile on the roof? And
no, I mean, that was all built in that tank and with breakaway sections that the special effects chief, Chris Corbold and his gang arranged. And basically on manual cues, they would go pull out various devices that were anchoring them on it. And all I have is a great memory of that shoot. I mean, I just couldn't stop getting excited. I was directing the stuff as well. And I just couldn't believe what we were doing. You know, I went from Jerry Anderson models, you know, this big to this gigantic.
20-foot buildings,
Absolutely.
I mean, sometimes miniatures don't look as real as, you know, there's some things in Hitchcock movies where you look, oh my gosh, that's a train set, you know, whatever. But this always, it just is one of the best scenes ever in a Bond movie. Which awesome.
I'm immensely proud of it.
Yes,
you should be.
It was a bit of a battle, and I only mean that by the logistics of it. We had to shoot the background plates in Venice for blah, 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 which again, they let me direct. So I was directing extras and various people reacted to a house not doing anything and these guys have put things in the water to kind of agitate it. And then literally 2 or 3 months later, we were waiting for a window where the sunlight would be hitting our miniature exactly the same way, an angle and what have you. And you know, that. And I remember doing temporary marry-ups of what we were shooting with the background, and I knew, Jesus, this is really working, you know. And funnily enough, on the last day of shooting, we were blessed with fantastic weather, untypical British weather. It was a monsoon for 2-3 days, literally on the last shot. So there was a lot of luck in there. So.
Yeah. Now, when you're saying you're shooting the background plates for the scene, for the model, for the miniature, are you shooting areas in Venice that were like with no buildings, or are you doing this over buildings that existed already?
Exactly that. We were shooting right next to the Canaletto Bridge, I believe it's called.
Okay.
Using a building as the background chosen by Peter Lamont, sorry.
Peter,
production designer.
Yeah.
And so our miniature was kind of art directed to be the same dimensions to fit in that gap. And if you look at that stuff I've sent you, you'll see before and after.
Yeah. I think for anyone listening, this is the kind of stuff that's fascinating to go into this scene because it's one of the best scenes ever. And now we're understanding all of the details of the magic. This is fun.
Now, you just mentioned a second ago that CGI has changed a lot. And I imagine most of your world since you started has changed in terms of the technology and stuff. It does a better job of hiding what you're doing. So what are some of the things that have changed that you get to technically take advantage of that we don't necessarily know is happening, but because of the changes in technology, you benefit from it?
There's a variety of things. What used to take a long time to do in a computer now takes a lot less time. You know, so complex actions like fire, I have to say water now, and other things are achievable now and photorealistic in a way they weren't when we were doing Casino Royale. I haven't seen the last Bond, funnily enough, but the bits I've seen of it looks pretty good to me, and I can't tell what's stunt and CG. But it's the problem. What gives CG away is the camera work. You know, the camera going somewhere it couldn't go, and like I said to you earlier, the speed of the animation of the object or character or whatever that's you know, in the scene. And I don't blame the animators for that at all. It's just that's kind of what they've been asked to do. But it's pretty flawless now, really. I mean, you can do anything. And of course, as you know, just I was going to say on the horizon, it's actually here. You've got AI doing phenomenal stuff, although I hate it. I absolutely loathe it. Yeah.
So everything you do now from today forward, does it have to be a hybrid now?
Well, well, it's funny you should ask that. The last two or three things I've worked on have been entirely CG. And there's no miniatures, no practical stuff in it, other than close-up stuff with actors and stuff like that. The current project I'm working on, the director wants miniatures in a lot of shots. And that's what I was saying. I got the Casino Royale footage in an edit to show him and stuff. So there are a lot of people that are really nostalgic about that stuff. And even if they know it's not quite there, as long as it looks real, you know, albeit at a smaller scale, but and not really undetectably, they like it. They love all that stuff. I mean, look at the publicity that the miniatures on Chris Nolan's film got a post Batman Begins, which I worked on. You know, there's this mileage in it that they're letting people know you're actually still seeing something real, albeit
yeah. And I think you feel it's like stunts, and when they're practical stunts and they're really doing the stunts, like most of the Bond movie stuff was really practical stunts. I mean, the viewer understands that they're really doing this. They're really jumping out of a plane. They're really doing whatever, and that it's more exciting for a viewer to watch that, and it's got to be more exciting for you guys to be doing this, right? It's a real miniature. It's a like you said, it exists really in real life. It's there. It's cool.
And because it's real, it's observing real dynamics and physics and stuff.
Yeah.
I still think the car chase in Bullet, Steve McQueen film,
Yes,
is the best and beats the hell out of the Fast and whatever they're called, Furious.
Yeah.
You can tell when the CG cars take over.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Bullet was a great one.
Oh yeah.
That's a great scene.
Now, in doing the canal work, there's a lot of planning and prep work, and you know, when we talked to the stunt performer Rick English, he was talking about pre-viz or pre-visualization and post-viz, where all this planning gets done either, you know, pre-filming, and then you have to do the planning for the post work on that.
Yeah.
Is there what is your interaction on the visual effects side of things with that?
Well, I'm very heavily involved with previs animation. There was a ton of it on Casino Royale and quite a bit on Skyfall. But the stunt guys, as you might have thought, they do what they call stunt viz, where they get a room with a big room, load of cardboard boxes, and then they kind of go through a stunt sequence and edit it as well to get the director's approval. So that's their version of it. Our version is, as you might guess, CG versions of it. For nothing, Casino Royale's way, we had CGI collapsing villa that would later on be the big model that you see in the film. I mean, the CG was good, but it was nowhere near as good as what we wanted at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
There was previs was used in the sequence where there's what we call the touch and go. It's where there's this 747 freighter just misses Bond in the tanker.
Right.
I think being pursued by police cars.
Yep.
And as the jet takes off, we have like a stunt car pulled towards camera, and then the profile shot is a model car rolling away from it, you know, about that big. But sorry, I'm in reverse. It's kind of hard to. My image is in reverse, so it was a lovely. In fact, that whole sequence is a lovely marriage of every trick in the book. Some of the aircraft flying around in the background are what we call Airfix Revell AMT kits, and they're about that big with super bright LEDs on them, just shot against black, you know, slowly moving. And you stick them in the background during these action sequences. And Martin Campbell, I have to say, assumed we'd shot something and put it in put it in later. And I said, no, there are a load of cheap kits that we got from you. And he was like, wow, I didn't know that.
Really, really.
That
That's
was a
cool.
compliment. So.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, now
Wow.
let's jump into go kind of film by film a little bit here. And I'll start with GoldenEye. And you've
Yeah.
mentioned Chris Corbold.
Yeah.
So he
Sorry.
did special effects, you did visual effects. What kind of
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the differences between the two and how in later movies that you worked with Chris, how you guys worked together for the two teams?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Chris's team basically did all the stuff that uh, primarily the actors had to react to, like the car stunts, bullet hits, explosions, stuff like that.
Okay.
Where we start getting a crossover is when I wanted, because I'm a miniature fan, similar effects, albeit scaled down on the model sequences we had on these shows. So there was the boundaries were kind of blurred in a good,
Okay.
I think a good way, particularly in Casino,
Mm.
where we were helping the stunt guys and the special effects guys, and they were helping us as well.
Yeah.
And as I say, it's the best experience I've had in
Yeah.
movies. I wish they were all like that.
Yeah, Chris Corbold was great. We got to speak with him in person in Chicago and interview
Oh.
him. He's another fascinating guy. So he had to be fun to work with.
Yeah,
He,
I mean, I first met him on LARA CROFT, the
Okay.
Angelina Jolie one, and we sort of hit it off there.
yeah, yeah,
And then the sequel, and then he was also on Batman Begins as the main unit effects guy.
right, right.
And I think he liked what he saw with the miniatures we were doing and put a good word in
Yeah,
for me.
you've
Bond
mentioned
Law.
you've mentioned Martin Campbell, and you worked with him a few times, really, and
Yeah,
certainly with GoldenEye and Casino. We talked a little bit about Casino. We have a couple other things from Casino we'd like to talk about too, because there's some other cool scenes there, and we'd like to get your feedback on that.
yeah,
Um, Now, the scene in the shower, for instance, where in Casino Royale, Bond and Vesper are in the shower,
yeah,
that's one of the most potent scenes in the movie. I mean, it's a powerful scene
yeah,
for the movie,
yeah.
and you're filming that through glass and water and everything else. And how much were you involved in that, and how did
Very.
that play off? Because that seems like to me it would be a tough scene to
Oh, it
film
was a
and
nightmare.
orchestrate.
It
Well,
was a
it was.
nightmare.
It was. It was a nightmare.
I mean,
Yeah.
if I don't know if you I think you know that basically he overdid the kissing on the fingers. Daniel
Oh,
Craig
yeah, yeah, right.
was wildly overdone or something. I can't remember the
Yeah, yeah, right. He kissed all five
location.
fingers or something.
That's it. That
Yeah,
was it.
yeah, yeah.
So Martin wanted it to be cut down to 3 fingers or whatever. And there was a lot of clever stuff in there where you get finger one, finger two or three, and then they morph blend into the last finger.
Yeah.
And as you say, there was this stuff going on in the foreground. And
Yes.
I have to say, Martin did say that's one of the best visual effects I've ever seen, and no one will know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, it's one of
Apart from you guys.
yeah, yeah, one of the scenes that stands out because we're looking for cool things like that, and that's another outstanding scene and so on. But we've talked to a lot of creative people like yourself and so on. We spoke with Joe Karoff, who designed the 007 logo. He was 102 when we spoke to him.
Wow,
Yeah,
really?
and sharper than attack. I mean, just a wonderful guy. And we asked him, he did other movies too. He did Manhattan. He did all the stuff for West Side Story. I mean, the guy's brilliant. So we asked him, it's like, for brilliant people, I guess it's easy. How do you even begin to think about the beginning of it? Like the whole Grand Canal concept and the Palazzo thing and everything else. I mean, here's the concept. Hey, we're going to sink a Palazzo into the Grand Canal. Okay, guys. Where do you begin to think from your end of it, from your part? It's like, how do you start to think about that?
It's a really good question because I saw the initial concepts. I saw these little cardboard models in the art department before we did a recce into Venice, and then I have to say I had a very enjoyable long afternoon with Peter Lamont and his folks, going up and down the canal, stopping at various little places for a glass of wine and what have you. We passed these locations, and he said, "I'm thinking this is the one. This is the one. I want to go down. You can do that, can't you?" And I'm like, yeah. So, well, yeah, okay. And by that point, I hadn't really figured out how to do it. So, but as I say, there's a load of circumstances into it being as successful as it was. And I can't take all the credit, but I did push it the way it ended up. So,
yeah. So it's hard to start to conceptualize the kinds of things you need to go do to get it done. And have you ever said, no, I can't do that? Or
yeah, I did.
really?
I
Okay.
did, yeah, on Skyfall, not
Okay.
Skyfall, Spectre.
Okay.
Because of the success we'd had with miniatures in Casino and Skyfall as well, there's not as many, but there are there.
Hmm.
They wanted to have a big miniature for the MI6 building collapse at the end.
Yes.
And I've got more experience in miniatures than anyone in the room at that point. I said, this is going to be really difficult. We need more than one take. The model has to be colossal to look dead realistic. You've got to build it strong enough to stand up, but weak enough to collapse. And I said, that ain't easy. And then I was just told, we want it. We want a model. So we shot a test. It was crap. In fact, a lot of things went wrong. The explosions all went in the wrong direction, and they built it out of high density foam, and which is a dense material but very lightweight. So when the thing collapsed, it floated away.
Yeah.
And I was only there to supervise it to make sure we could line it up with stuff in London, and it was a disaster. But anyway, what they didn't know, in the background, I was getting a CG version of that built anyway. And because it's a Bond, they're not aware of, a couple of $100,000 going somewhere for something else. And that's what you see in the film, I'm afraid. Much as I love miniatures, I knew the camera would be moving, because it's viewed from a helicopter.
Yeah.
That's really difficult to angle a miniature in while it's collapsing and you're shooting in slow motion and blah, 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 blah. Loads of things. Too many issues.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know what.
So they agreed with you.
I didn't get any feedback from it other than no feedback. But they
Look good for us. So
yeah.
All right. So I want to go back to Casino for a minute and talk about in the opening, you have that chase scene, right? That with that runner Sebastian Foucan, where he's running up and down, and Bond is chasing after him on the cranes. And you sent us some great pictures and images here of how you guys did that. So talk a little bit about how you augmented that scene with green screen, but they were really climbing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was my first proper Bond film. It's my first proper Bond location, in the Bahamas, and on this abandoned construction site. And apart from the Bahamas, but it wasn't very glamorous. And a new Bond, so it didn't feel to me like a Bond. There was no Pierce Brosnan, and
Right.
a lot of elements in it made me think, oh God, I hope this is going to go okay. And then I was there a few weeks before everyone showed up. So we had Daniel Craig, who I'd worked with before on LARA CROFT. So he kind of recognized me. And then we had Sebastian Foucan, who was this parkour expert, who would run around looking like he's on a wire, and he ain't.
I think I heard you call him once a living visual effect or something.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely. He's clambering up this stuff, and really fast, against gravity. And And then it got to filming the Daniel Craig stuff, and they put a massive, it's funny, isn't it? Put a massive rope on him, like really way bigger than necessary. And I said to, with Barbara Broccoli nearby, I said, is there any chance you can get a bigger effing rope on him because we had to paint it out. And then she had a go at me and she said, "Well, he's insured for like $10 million. If he slips or falls, it's your fault." To me, okay, yeah. But as you know, Daniel Craig put so much energy into it.
He did.
And he was, and then before we left the Bahamas, they did a rough cut of all the material second unit, main unit had done with Bond music. Anyway, it's music from a Pierce Brosnan Bond, and then quickly cut together by Stuart Baird. And I thought, oh my God, this is. And then we realized we are really onto something here, and we had a brand new Bond and a different take on the Bond.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Different take.
Very
So was Craig able to keep up with the running, or was it like
he's super fit. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, he's strong.
Another scene that he shows that he's fit is when he's on that caterpillar, that excavator or whatever, the cloth thing.
Oh yeah.
And I know that there was some work done with you guys. I mean, you had Dan and I have actually been on that inside that crane, but
The very same one.
Yeah, the real one.
Oh, really?
But the
Ian Fleming Foundation owns it.
Yeah,
that's right. Oh, wow.
But like when that claw goes into the train and stuff, that was your team, right? That did that work?
You're talking about Skyfall now, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Skyfall, right?
Yeah.
Switching.
You're right, yeah. It's a partial practical effect, and when you cut to the wide shot, it's CG.
Okay.
Although, albeit that the diggers there on behind the real train, but the actual rip off the roof which I think skitters away, was CG by us. It was a really nice marry up of the two tricks to the point.
Yes.
Where I saw Chris Quabble sometime after that, because he'd gone off the film, some like 6 months later, I see him, and he said, "You know what?" He said, "I was really proud of what my guys did on that shot there. That shot where the thing breaks off at the back." He said, "But then I suddenly realized we didn't do it."
Yeah.
So that was a compliment.
Yeah.
And now, do you put the people into the train there in post as well?
It depends on the shot.
Okay.
I think we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Or we had I think we had doubles in there.
Okay.
Try to avoid CG people if possible. Albeit you can do it now, no problem.
Yeah.
So we were at Skyfall there and so on, but I just wanted I wanted to go back to Casino Royale where they're doing the parkour chase and all that stuff. When they're running on the beams and stuff, obviously they're harnessed. Everybody's harnessed, including Sebastian, right? He was harnessed.
I mean, obviously when they're really high up, but he did clamber up without we didn't need one of those things.
Yeah. His line was probably slacking,
Yeah, it was. He was meant to paint out this line that had a big bend in it.
Yeah. Wow. So, but on the beams and so on, I saw some of your pictures. I think they showed you actually put extensions onto the beams digitally, right?
Yeah. Correct.
I mean, it absolutely looks flawless. It looks beautiful. How do you do stuff like that? I mean, the extensions of the beams. I saw the pictures and we'll show them on the YouTube channel. So check that out, everybody. How do you do that? How did you come up with the concept? Well, it's got to be a little longer to make it something.
Well, I while I was there, I went up on a crane in a bucket, what have you, and took loads of stills of the whole environment. In fact, there's a few shots that are just made up of those stills, particularly the one where Bond's coming up at the camera.
Yes.
When he breaks the mechanism and then shoots skyward. So it's a marry up. Oh yeah, so I think I got the bit you're talking. There's a crane extension. Is that stuff?
Yeah.
There's a jib on a big crane. Originally, they were going to build 30 foot of that crane and shoot it in pine wood, and I thought, this is outdoors, by the way, but I thought this is just not going to intercut with the Bahamas. So Peter, bless him, Peter Lamont, listened to me, and I said, "Why don't you shoot like that 30 foot out here in the Bahamas on top of the old hotel, and we'll stretch it." So they did,
Wow.
and that's why it's so successful, because you also have a real sea skyline
Yes.
in a lot of those shots,
It
and
looks beautiful.
that's why that all works, you know.
Yeah. It looked beautiful. Great.
Yep.
I mean, you have to plan a lot with this. You have to use a lot of math because I don't like math. I mean, you have to figure things out mathematically, or do you just like, nah, I think we could do that like this.
I kind of wing it a little bit.
Oh, you
I
do
try.
wing it. I was going to ask you if you ever wing it.
All the time. I try to come across like I know what I'm talking about, and then when no one's looking, you know, and pray. I mean, for example, that collapsing villa we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
that had gone wrong. There's only one person would have been blamed for that, me, no one else.
No pressure.
Yeah, I get the credit, but if it went wrong, I get blamed. So.
Oof. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big deal. Yeah.
I couldn't sleep till we started to get really good footage, and it's like, wow, then I love.
Yeah, I would imagine that when you're thinking about this stuff at night and when the shots are over for the day and so you're thinking, what the heck am I going to do next here? How are we gonna figure this one out? Like,
Well,
I had like a heart issue, like palpitations or something
oh,
like that at the time, and then in fact I remember getting forced by Barbara and company go, "You got to be tested," and then but it turned out my heart was okay, but I was getting these anxious stuff, and then the moment the effects started looking great, gone. Completely gone. I was like really chilled out, and it was a lovely feeling. It was like natural adrenaline,
yes.
not fake stuff. Fake like this.
Yeah. You got to feel thrilled though when the shot is done successfully. It all worked, and you're going, "Hi, yeah, that's good."
Yeah, it was. It was. I can't. That is the absolute. That film is the zenith for me.
Yeah.
I think not only is it the best Bond, it's the highlight of my life. Really, it was just
nice.
everything went right about it. And
Yeah.
the funny thing was, my mum and dad had to put up when I was a kid with me watching Jerry Anderson stuff, watching Bond movies and the various. And I ended up working for Jerry Anderson, and I ended up doing James Bond film. And they
Hey,
were
it
like,
worked out.
"What the?"
That's
Yeah,
That's
fantastic.
cool. All
Yeah.
right, now we were talking about destroying things in Casino Royale. In Skyfall, you destroy the lodge, you destroy the helicopter, you destroy the Aston Martin,
Yeah, DB5.
all
yeah.
and so some of it's blowing things up, but I imagine a lot of that was miniature work as well. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you did some of the work on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it was a large scale miniature, third scale again.
Okay.
So
Wow.
the Merlin helicopter, I think again was about 17 foot.
Wow.
Uh, it was initially on a hydraulic rig to push it through the house,
Hmm.
which it turned out we didn't really need it, but that's another story. But it was primarily flown about on wires and stuff, because of its mass and scale. Like it was almost a full a mini helicopter.
Yeah.
It
17.
looked dead realistic anyway, just pictured and stuff. And then we put CG rotor blades on top, what have you. And then it was swung into the third scale house. Oh no, yeah, it was swung, and then it's swung into the house, and then kablam, what have you. I have to say, it's intercut with a full scale explosion that Chris and these guys did, and you can't see the join, so to me,
Nice.
so to speak. The miniature was so good.
Yes.
But what was really interesting is outside that we had a third scale DB5,
Hmm.
and I think you might have seen a picture of
Yeah.
Yeah.
me with it, and that replaced. They had a BMW sports car that had the same wheelbase
Okay.
as the DB5. So for the destruction shots, including the stuff where it's getting it's being shot at by the helicopter.
Right.
That was all miniature work put on
Wow.
top of real hits on this BMW sports car. And again, I'm really proud to have been kind of like the front of that because it works really well. It's another highlight. And there's also there's a real helicopter, a big model helicopter, and a CG copter briefly in there.
Yeah.
And the thing I love is just mixing all these tricks and techniques. And,
Yeah.
you know.
So the helicopter shooting the DB5, that was the model of the DB5, right?
Yeah.
So how did you scale bullet holes?
Good miniature work for a start off.
Yeah.
But again, shooting real elements like windscreens and things from our DB5 with special effects firing like ball bearings and things through it. So we get the erupting glass, a shoot against black, and then we composite that on the model.
Wow.
And I've got a little anecdote about it. It's also Chris was a kobold and he slipped and fell on top of the model and he crushed the roof down.
Oh.
And it actually looked better.
See, now this is really why after shooting's done, it takes so long for a movie to come out because you guys have to do all this additions to it.
Yeah.
All right,
absolutely.
now,
I mean, the actual sequence where the DB5 is shot up by the marauders that are coming in, that was quite tricky as well. They basically shot a plate going round the real DB5. Then weeks later, we had a motion control rig shooting what they call a green buck off the. It's actually a DB5 front with real bullet hits and stuff going off on that with a repeat of the move. And then from the plate that we shot of the real one, and then we married the two together.
Wow. And
it never really destroyed, albeit that the real DB5 that they had before all this mayhem, the downdraft from the helicopter was so violent at one point, its door nearly got ripped off, causing something like 100 grand's worth of damage.
Wow.
Yeah.
The magic.
Right. So let's jump forward into Spectre here, and I'm a sucker for these long, continuous, looking like a one-take shot, and you've got that here in the opening of Spectre. We also saw it in the movie The Player, the movie 1917. Have this feel, and I just totally love that opening. And I know a lot of that's just really tight editing, but does your team get involved in something like that?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't mind anyone hearing this. The editorial lot take a lot of credit for this. That's not what happened. I never worked so hard in all my life. What happened is that I have to say the camera crew were terrific. Right? They've got to share a lot of credit for this. Basically, we'd start one scene, we'd take it to what would be its end, with the camera moving at a certain rate, certain velocity, certain kind of framing, certain height, all sorts of stuff, and then cut, and then sometimes definitely a different location. Sometimes weeks later, we had to start the shot with the following bit with exactly the same velocity, exactly the same lighting, same camera work, blah, 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 and all that. And one of the camera operators on that, a Steadicam operator, I have to give a lot of credit to. He was really into it as well. And anyway, they cut together. In fact, I think it's 3 or 4 locations in Mexico City. The hotel room is in Pinewood. And then when you go out the window, you're back into Mexico City again with a big technocrane shot.
Yeah.
With a hell of a lot of CG help in there, by the way, but nonetheless a spectacular shot. And then pivoting round into a set that we shoot later at Pinewood. Now, the big tricky bit for us was blending those shots together, because no matter how well you tried, they're always misaligned and the lighting wasn't quite right. So there's a bit of CG augmentation blending the stuff together. It wasn't an edit, although the edit showed us it was going to work.
Okay.
But there's a hell of a lot of work in there from the VFX department.
Yeah, I rewatched that scene last night before this because it's like
Oh, did you?
I really like those things that look like they're one take shot. It's like
It
okay,
does it. It just
there's
looks like a
magic going
continuous
on
shot.
behind the scenes here.
I mean, that is part of the magic because you're saying they're weeks apart. You're doing different things in different places of the world. It's like,
Yeah.
Well, and in different
Exactly.
places, you had to do some CG work, I guess, to do the crowd work inside the square
Yeah.
for the helicopter
yeah,
fight. You had to put those people in there.
That was a massive. I mean, first of all, the helicopter moves are all real. Sam Mendes had a thing which I totally agree with, kind of echoes what I was saying earlier. He didn't want a CG helicopter
hmm
driving the scene. He wanted a real helicopter. So what they did was they did the opening part of it, if what I remember rightly. Then they all went off. It was a bank holiday in England. They all disappeared. And I got the job of 300 miles south of Mexico City, shooting the same helicopter, but against a jungle background,
Oh,
which was green, which sort of helped in a
Mhm.
funny kind of way. And then ILM, I think it was, put in a CG Mexico City made of stills I'd taken when I was left behind to do it. I mean, I'm really, again, it's another sequence I'm really happy with. I'm not wild about the rest of the film, full enough, but that is a great. And also, I have to say, the big walk into the continuous shot, I think the music is just
Yeah.
excellent. Bond,
Yeah.
you know, when he gets into the
yes.
Bond, it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm
The music has
still-
always been integrated well in the Bond movies for the most part. And that's a skill too that,
Yeah.
because the music, I always think the music should enhance the scene, not dominate the scene. And
Yeah.
they've always been very good with that.
Yeah, they have
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Really. I went to a rap party, one of the Bond rap parties, and
Yeah.
the only thing they played were Bond themes, right? And every single one of them was identifiable. Every one of them.
Wow.
And it actually created a really great atmosphere. They're so iconic. It's not
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want
Always
to go
great.
back to that scene where when Bond leaves the room and he's going to go try to shoot Sierra, right?
Mhm.
And we're going to play this while we're talking about it.
Yeah.
There's a part where in some of the stuff you gave us where there's a green screen thing or green panel on the ground that looks like it's on real ground that allowed you to show that there was something underneath it, which I don't think was really there. But
That's correct.
so that you kind of do that kind of technique to enhance the realism, I guess, of the environment. And if I didn't see what we just showed now with that green thing
Yeah.
there, there's no way I wouldn't have known he was just hopping over something.
Yeah. I mean, there's an interesting anecdote about that shot in particular. He was supposed to be running, like sprinting across all
Oh.
that particular rooftop, and he hurt his leg. And
Yeah.
a couple of days before shooting, and they were a bit nervous about him running, even though he had a wire on him and all that. He just looked unconvincing, or he might hurt his leg further. So what they did, and I've got a full credit to Daniel Craig, again. He go, well, Bond wouldn't run anyway. He kind of like almost swagger, across there, and that's what you see.
Yeah.
And I think his performance in that sequence is outstanding.
Yep.
I mean, really, it's the best Bond for me is Connery, but it was Connery level. I loved it. Anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're right. I think it was better that he was swaggering rather than running
Yeah.
because that's more Bond,
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Now I want
certainly
to
Sean Connery.
shift out of Bond for the rest of this and jump into Kingsman: The Secret Service, which you worked on.
Yeah.
And one thing we said we'd interviewed stunt performer Rick English, and he was Colin Firth's stunt double. And he was telling us about that you guys would put dots on his face so you could replace his face with Colin's face. So it'd be his body doing whatever it is. But then you put Colin's face on it, and we, the viewer, don't know that's going on. I do have this shot you sent us from Michael Caine's face when you youthified or de-aged him. And it's got all these dots over. What do the dots do for you guys? Why do you put the dots there, and how do you use
It
them?
is fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they are basically in three-dimensional space. They are reference points that move about frame by frame, and what have you. And then they are tracked and they're used as a device to put a CG version of the face perfectly on top. So it aligns, it pivots, it switches, it rotates exactly. Otherwise, you just have to give it to the animator who would stick it on the face and second guess where it should be.
Mm.
What that does, because we also measure them, by the way, everything's quite accurately measured. It lets them know in three-dimensional space what's going on physically out there so they can lock the CG on top of it.
Wow.
So that was the reason for the dots.
All right, that helped me a lot because when Rick explained it from the stunt performance perspective, I didn't quite get what you were doing on the technical side with it. So thanks for clearing that up for me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I think there's only one shot we had Colin Firth. Yeah. There's it's a hero shot, by the way. He's kind of like, and CG face replacement still wasn't as good as it is now.
Yeah, he kind of said that it was new.
Yeah.
In fact, the youthification attempt on Michael Caine's quite interesting in that the very, very first version that this company did blew everyone away because Matthew Vaughn was going to cut it because he had no faith in it, that actually working. And then the very, very first version was like, what the? And everything looked right. Anyway, what happened is every time they subtly modified an element on it, be it an expression or the mouth, it suddenly offset everything else, and it got worse. So we abandoned it. Real shame, really. I mean, now you could use deep fake and all sorts of technology to do it, but we didn't have that then.
Okay.
Oh.
Right now, you recently did the work on the TV series Hijack.
Yeah.
And going from a Bond production budget to a TV series production budget, how does that affect what you're able to do?
Obviously, basically a lot, but the TV series was less ambitious, so it kind of scaled correctly. Do you know if you know what I mean?
Right.
You didn't have to take shortcuts because it wasn't required.
That's right, yeah. I earned more on that than I did in any Bond movie, by the way.
Yeah, really?
That's probably why they haven't had me back on the sequel,
Right. Now, another area I wanted to get into is Easter eggs. Dan and I just did an episode where we talked about hidden Easter eggs in Bond movies and things that are there that you may not pick up on. Either they're paying homage to an earlier Bond movie or to another person. And I know you've done some of that. What are some of the Easter egg stuff you've done?
Yeah, because we love this.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah, of course. That was, I have to say, I'd take full credit for that. We had this huge miniature hangar for the air liner thing, jet. And I just thought it'd be really cool because, he'd gone by then. And, not only did I work with him, I liked him a lot and he inspired me, etc., etc. And I thought, as it was my first Bond with miniatures, I'd just give him a nod. So I got the model makers to put meddings on the side of this gantry and stuff, which you can't see straight away, but when it's pointed out, you can't miss it. Because it's the sort of thing Derek would have done, It's you think Moonraker.
That's cool.
So a tip of the cat to Derek Medding.
To the boss.
Nice.
To the man.
Nice homages.
Awesome.
I like that kind of stuff. You ever got caught putting an Easter egg in that someone said, hey, what are you doing there?
Oh, well, I did one on Tim Burton's Batman. And I'm working for Derek Meddings. There's one shot, and it's a POV from the Batwing as it's diving down at the street, Gotham City street. I have to say, it's very subtle, and you won't really notice it. But I was one of Derek's assistants, so I'm dressing the set. I'm kind of making it look good. And one trick Derek liked is if you get like this stuff called 3-in-1 oil spray, that loosens rusty stuff. Spray it everywhere because it gives a good sheen.
Yeah.
And when I was busy doing all this, and then suddenly I was where the camera's turning over, and I could actually hear the camera approach it, but no one, and because it was making such a big move, I noticed I'm still on the set. So I left this can in shot, and you can just see it on the right. It's right on one of the balconies, like big going past the camera. I think it's the one we see the baby balloon going up in the background. You can actually see this orangey white thing going by. That's kind of 3-in-1. So
yeah, that's amazing. That's fun.
Yeah, that is cool.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So what's up for you next? We've talked about a lot of the stuff you've done. We talked about Cleaner a little bit. And what's next for you? What do you want to be doing?
I've just started on a film called Fortitude. Okay. Simon West is directing.
Can you say the name of that again? Because it cut out on me when you said
Fortitude. It's based on a thing called Operation Fortitude, Second World War.
Yes.
The Brits created a fake army of tanks and ships and stuff like that.
Yes.
Which fooled the Germans.
The Ghost Army.
Exactly. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So it's fun. And the director wants models as well. So.
Well, that's cool.
Excellent. Yeah, we just we interviewed the author of the book Ghost Armies.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We did.
It's a small world.
Yeah. It was great. It was a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Anyway. All right, that's a wrap of our discussion of visual effects with Steve Begg. Thank you, Steve, so much for joining us and providing us all this great insight into the magic that you do for movies and TV. Thank you. It's been great talking to you.
And thank you guys as well.
Thank you very much. All right, this has been Dan.
And Tom.
Of SpyMovieNavigator.com and our show, Cracking the Code of Spy Movies. Please go subscribe to our show right now. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you spending time with us.